Well, greetings. Welcome to my desktop. I just want to show you a few useful tasks in Windows. And there's going to be a few differences. When you look at my desktop and your desktop, there'll probably be a few different things, but I'll see if I can explain them to you. Okay, the first thing is I'm using Windows 7, and my screen and desktop may look a little bit different than yours, the default, but if I just right-click out here on the desktop and I go to Personalize, what I've done is there's the default Windows theme, and because I'm old and I come from previous versions of Windows, I run Windows Classic. So that's why it looks a little different, but things should be kind of much in the same space or slot for you. Okay, so I'm running Windows 7 Classics desktop theme. Now, the first task is to just open a directory structure. Oh, but I think before I do that, I'll just right-click on the computer here and say Properties, and I can see very quickly the version of Windows I'm running. So I'm running Windows 7 Enterprise is what I'm running, okay? So again, let's go and talk about directory structures. So I'm going to open my computer, and what you'll see here is on my computer, I have several drive resources. So I've got 2 local hard disks, I've got a couple of CD drives, and then I have some network drives that are connected. And I want to talk about these local disks for just a second. Let me just show you the way I have it set up is I have the operating system on the C drive, and I have all my data out on the E drive. And when I open up the data, you can see my directory structure here. So this is more than 15 years at Cal Poly accumulation. I've got everything organized under this one directory so that I can get to my structure and I can locate things relatively quickly. I'm going to ask that you organize your files and keep them together for this class so that we're able to quickly locate and go back and find things, go back and open old files and things like that. Okay, so let me go back to my computer here, and what I want you to do is on your laptop you probably just have a single drive. So open up the C drive, and first let's just create a new directory. So I'm going to say new folder, and folder and directory are synonymous. Those are the same things, and I'm just going to type in data as the name of this folder. And you can see it's down at the bottom here. If I hit the F5, that'll refresh the screen and it puts everything in alphabetical order. Okay, so I can create directories just by opening a directory and then opening and adding a new folder. Maybe I'll call this Activity 1, for example. So you're starting to see I'm building myself a directory structure. I've got the local disk. I open that up. Inside there is the data directory, and I've got Activity 1 created. Okay, maybe what I'll do now is inside Activity 1, I'll just create a new, and I'm just going to make a text file. So if I'm going to go find a text document, and I'm just going to call it test.txt, and by default, I have Notepad associated with TXT files. Now you may wonder, or you may not see the extension of the file, the 3 letters after the dot. And that comes from kind of old DOS 8 characters, point, and then 3 characters. It's not a limitation anymore, but that's kind of where that came from. And the extension, the file type, then defines, when we double click on it, what application will open. And in my case, I have Notepad opening.txt files. I could change that if I wanted to, but I'm not going to right here. Now, if you don't see the extension, what you can do is go in and organize folder and search options. You can go in and you can go to the View tab, and you can come down here and pick the way you want to see the files. And so the one I have selected right there, it's actually a deselection. The hide empty, it is hide extensions for known file types. This is clicked by default, and when I do that, it doesn't show me the extension of the file. It's still there, but Windows doesn't show it to me. Let me go back then to Layout Options, View, and I do not want to hide those things. Okay, so you might look through that list of options in the view, and you can turn things on and off, and that's good for everywhere across the operating system. Okay, So you're starting to picture my directory structure. Now the next thing, so let me just do one more here. So for example, if I wanted to create a Microsoft Word document, so what I might do is open up Microsoft Word. And let me just get it to the screen over here. I'll just pull it over. And I'll just write some text in here. And then I'll go through and I'll save this file. So I'll go save it to my directory structure. File, Save As. I'm going to go Browse. I'm going to go to my C drive. I'm going to go to my data directory, my activity 1, and I'm just going to call this test.docx. I'm going to close it, and now you'll see that file start to appear in that directory structure. Okay, so now I've created a file inside an application, and I've saved it out. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to talk about there. Next, I want to talk about a terminal window. So we don't use the terminal window much in Microsoft Windows, but we will in other operating systems, specifically the Linux operating system we're going to work with a lot this quarter. I just want to give you an example of how to work with the directory structure inside a terminal window. So the way I start a terminal window is I go to the Start menu and I type CMD, and it says, oh, I found something called CMD, and so I'll hit the execute button, or I'll select it, and it opens the terminal window and it puts me in my home directory according to Windows. Okay, it's under C:\users\K:. I'm going to change to my data directory, and let me just show you a couple different ways to navigate around. If I say CD space ... it goes up a directory. So I'll go from there to C users. I'll do that one more time, C space ... up to the root of the C drive. And if I now type dir for directory, it shows me what's inside the root directory on my C drive. And if I look over here, you can see my second item is the data directory. So if I want to change to data, I'll go CD space data, and it makes it, and it moves the cursor into that directory. So if you haven't done a command line interface or a terminal window before, this is all pretty new, but we're going to need to maneuver and manipulate things in a command line interface type of situation. So let me just show you one more thing here. so CD space ... I'll go back up, I'll go CD root directory users /K:. Remember, that's where I started before. So you see there's several different ways you can jump 2 directories at a time. So now if I want to go to CD space C:\, data / activity 1, I can make it there. And what you notice is Windows is insensitive about the upper or lowercase first letters there. It's not case sensitive. But the other operating system, Linux, is case sensitive. So it'll give you an error if we try to do this when the actual directories are named capital D and capital A. Okay, so now I can do a dir, a directory, show me what's in there, and there is my docx file. That's my Microsoft Word file, and my txt file. That's just my simple text file that I edited in Notepad. Okay, I want to show you about launching applications from the command line also. So I think you've seen or you've done this before, where you go to the Start menu, you type in something you're looking for, like how about Microsoft Word, and it says, oh, I found an icon under Programs that's Word, so we could launch it there. I actually know that the executable for Word is called winword.exe, and if we search for that, it'll find it. So I can select it here. This is just a search box, and then it finds it. You could see I could also search for the Notepad application, and it would find that for me, and I could launch it there. What I want to show you is that it's also possible to launch applications from the command line interface, and we're going to do this in the Linux operating system a lot. But if I type in Notepad here, and Windows finds the executable, then it's able to launch it. So there I launched Notepad. but I can type in WinWord, which is the application for Microsoft Word, and what you'll see is it doesn't find it. And that has to do with the path that's configured. And the path, what it is it's basically where this command line searches for files. So when you type in something, it looks through this path right here and it tries to find it. So obviously when I type in Notepad, that's in the path. And even though Microsoft Word, winword.exe, is actually on the hard disk, the path isn't set up to look in that directory. So when I type WinWord, it's not there. Now we could take some steps and add the path where WinWord is located. We could add it into this path and it would work then. But the thing I wanted to show you is that we can execute a command. If it's in the path, it gets executed. If it's not in the path, then we get an error, and then we may have to troubleshoot that. Okay, so I think that's enough on that. Let's see, I do want to do a couple other things in the interface here, the command line interface. So if I back up one directory, I'm in the data directory, and I can type the dir, and I can also create directories in the command line interface. So the command to do it is mkdir, make directory space name of the directory. So I'm going to call this one capital ACT2. So it's going to make that directory, and when I type dir, you'll see it has two directories in here. If I go back to the Windows directory, you can see it has the two right there. Okay, so we can make directories. We can also, I'm going to go in, let's see, I can also remove directories. So rmdir is remove directory, and I can say rmdir act2, and it does that, and now the directory is gone. You can see here and here. There is a whole bunch of different commands that we can execute in the additional resources in the activity you're looking at. If you look down at the bottom, you'll find some references to some help files and some tutorials and things like that. I think one thing I would show you is that there's usually a help command for a directory. So remember I typed in dir, that's a command. It gives me a directory listing for what's there. If I type dir space /?, it should give me the help for that command. So there is a bunch of keys and switches and things that we could do with the dir command. Most commands have that help available. So how about mkdir space /?? You can see it has some help to it too. So that's something we'll often do is we'll want to type a command in a command line interface. We don't quite know the syntax of it, so we can often get help for it, and that'll help us figure out the right command. Okay, so I think that's enough there. The next thing I want to do is show you the device manager in Windows. So if I go to the start menu and I just type in device, it goes and searches for device, and the second one there is the device manager. I want to open that up, and I want to show you that we can see the different hardware components on board the computer here. So my computer is called MFG Lathe, and I can open and close each of these things. Like if I wanted to look at my disk drives, you can see I have 2 disk drives there. If I want to look at my DVD drives, there's a couple there. What we're going to do later in the quarter is we're going to plug some things into the USB port, and what we're going to have to do is ensure that that device that we plug in is going to show up as what's called a COM port. It'll probably show up as something like COM9 or COM15, and we're going to need to know which port that device is located at. Okay, so I just wanted to show you where the device manager is in Windows so that you can look at the devices, and as we plug and unplug things, this list of devices updates. Okay, I imagine you have done things like install applications before, but in the activity, I'm going to make sure that you go and search for some new software. And you're going to find some software. You're going to download some software, and once you download it, you know, it's likely it'll be in some download location that you go and find. I drag it out to the desktop, and then I'm able to launch the install application that will install new software on your machine. Okay, so I want to make sure you're going to be able to install new applications, because we're going to do that a few times this quarter. And I think the last thing I'd probably show you is you can see that I've got quite a few windows opened up down here in my taskbar. And often we get so many windows up here, I need to just index through the windows to switch between a couple. And the way I do that is an Alt key. I hold down the Alt key, and then I hit the Tab key, and I can just index through the applications that are open. So for example, if I was not sure where my command window was, I can just Alt-Tab to get right to it. And if then I wanted to go open up my folder structure, I could just index through that. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that the Alt-Tab is a fantastic way to switch quickly between windows. Okay, so I think that's my list that I have in the activity right there, is just being able to do those things and maneuver around in Windows. And hopefully that's useful to you. Thanks very much.